Phoebe and Her Unicorn. Phoebe and Her Unicorn by Dana Simpson. Introduction. This introduction might be a little too challenging, but I will read it just so that you can have the practice of reading along and listening with me. Please read. I would dearly love to claim at least some connection to the origins of Marigold Heavenly Nostrils, the innocently arrogant unicorn who preens so charmingly through Dana Simpson's delightful comic strip bearing her name. And perhaps I can. Scholarly articles have been written, after all, about the fact that prior to my 1968 novel, The Last Unicorn, there were no female unicorns to be found in any of the world's varied mythologies. And in the early pages of that book, I did write, unicorns are immortal. It is their nature to live alone in one place, usually a forest where there is a pool, clear enough for them to see themselves, for they are a little vain, knowing themselves to be the most beautiful creatures in all the world, and magic besides. A little vain Marigold would be an appalling monster of ego, utterly self-concerned and completely unlikable if it weren't for her sense of humor and her occasional surprising capacity for compassion, both crucial attributes when bound by a wish granted to a 9-year-old girl in need of a best friend to play invented superhero games with, to introduce to slumber parties and girl talk gossip, and to ride through the wind after being called nerd and princess stupid butt one too many times. For Phoebe is a remarkably real little girl, as bright and imaginative as Bill Watterson's Kelvin, as touchingly vulnerable as Charles Schultz's Charlie Brown, and if these strike you as big names to conjure with, I'll go further and state for the record that in my opinion, Phoebe and Her Unicorn is nothing less than the best comic strip to come along since Calvin and Hobbes. Simpson is that good and that original. Part of the charm of Phoebe and Her Unicorn is the way in which Simpson plays her two characters' opposed worldviews, immortal and contemporary, against each other, along with their egos. For Phoebe's determination to be recognized as awesome quite matches Marigold's impregnable superiority to the entire human species. Consequently, both delight in sticking the needle in where they can, and on this ground they are equals. There is real affection between them, but it grows by degrees. Simpson takes her time with this, always remaining in full control of her material, including artful cultural references and the gradual development of additional characters and themes. The temptation is to quote at least every gag and panel, but that would be wrong. Enchantment doesn't retell well at second hand. Like Robert Frost's definition of poetry, it gets lost in translation. I'll simply suggest that you go read Phoebe and Her Unicorn in a serious hurry, like now. Peter S. Beagle, Oakland, California, September 2013. Let's begin. What is Phoebe doing? Phoebe skips rocks over the surface of the pond. Phoebe is skipping rocks. Let's read. Oh, whoa. You're a unicorn, right? Mm-hmm. And you clearly are a genius. I know, right? 4 skips. Sarcasm. Saying the opposite of what you mean. The unicorn does not mean Phoebe is a genius, someone extremely smart. She is making fun of Phoebe for stating the obvious, that she is a unicorn. Phoebe ignores the insult and assumes the unicorn meant she's a genius at skipping stones. I'm sorry about the rock. Do not be. I was trapped by my own reflection. I am so beautiful that when I see myself, I cannot look away, sometimes for days. I owe you a debt less attractive creature. You're What? Reflection. Trapped by your reflection means you can't look away because you are in love with yourself. Debt. When you owe someone money or a favor. I am in debt to you means I owe you money or a favor. For rescuing me, I shall grant you one wish. You may wish for anything. I wish for infinity more wishes. You cannot do that. Infinity dollars? World peace is not even in your top 2? I'm a 4th grader. To rescue is to save. Infinity is forever. When Phoebe skipped a rock, it made ripples in the water that distracted the unicorn from her own reflection, saving her from looking at herself for infinity. I have a question. Is it cheating to ask for infinity wishes? I wish for superpowers. See here, child. Phoebe. Phoebe, you must keep your wish more realistic. Do you think the unicorn has superpowers? Is this like that dream where the giant talking McNugget yells at me about nutrition? The McNugget is a metaphor. A metaphor is when you compare one thing to another. Okay, I have a wish I think you can actually grant. I wish for you to become my best friend. Or maybe some gold? Hey, let's braid your mane. Prediction. Do you think the unicorn wants to be Phoebe's friend? I think the unicorn would rather give Phoebe gold than be her friend. Do you think the unicorn actually has the power to give Phoebe the gold? I am too busy to become your best friend. Busy with what? I sort of expected a unicorn to have, like, magic excuse-making powers. Wait! I have one. Tail yoga. The unicorn is making excuses. Do you ever make excuses? What kind? What's the best excuse you have ever come up with? The unicorn does not have the power to come up with a good excuse. More evidence that the unicorn does not have powers. Tail yoga? The art of waving one's tail around? Is that really a thing? No. If we're going to be best friends, you'll need to know all about me. I was born in the Golden Palace, and a host of angel butterflies sang of the new era my birth would usher in. Also, my name is Danger. Phoebe is acted conceited and vain, acting like she's in love with herself, to brag that her birth inspired a new era. You were born at Harbor General Hospital with a slight case of jaundice, and your middle name is Griselda. How did unicorn? So, how did the unicorn know Phoebe's middle name? Do you think maybe the unicorn does have powers? By the way, jaundice is when someone has a condition that gives them yellow skin. Do you have a name? I do. I am Marigold, Heavenly Nostrils. That's the best name I've ever heard. Yes, it is. What is the unicorn's full name? If you tell someone you like their hair, dress, or name, you are paying them a compliment. Once again, the unicorn acts conceited and vain when Phoebe pays a compliment by boasting. Yes, it is. To boast is to brag. To brag is to talk about how great you think you are. That's conceited. What does it mean to be conceited or vain? Having an overwhelming opinion of oneself. Arrogant. Having an exaggerated sense of self-importance. And here are the homework choices. This is not due until next week, so just pick one or two to work on if you have time. You're going to juxtapose, compare, and contrast Phoebe and the unicorn using the Venn diagram. So on this part of the Venn diagram, you would write characteristics that describe only Phoebe. And over here, you would write characteristics that describe only Marigold Heavenly Nostrils, the unicorn. In the middle, you will write characteristics that they both share, that they both have in common. Your second choice would be to write an argument essay with supporting details. Do you think the unicorn has superpowers? Use evidence from the text to support your answer. Another option would be to do number 3. Do you know someone who is conceited? Write a biography or make up a fairy tale about this person. Option number 4. Do you have comics or graphic novels like this in Japan? How is this story similar or different from stories you would read in Japan? Write a story that is inspired by Phoebe and the unicorn. Write and illustrate a comic strip that is inspired by Phoebe and the unicorn. You can print off as many pages as you like. Tell a story about what is happening in the pictures. You can create your own story or recall what you remember. Please do this number 7. Please do number 7. Yes, this is a good exercise for you. So do 7 for sure. And notice there are more pages. You can make up a story, or you can just retell the story in your own words. Whatever you choose. And then finally, go practice vocabulary from the story Phoebe and Her Unicorn on Quizlet. Here is a link, and it does not have Japanese on it any longer. I removed it. So I will just get rid of that. Okay, perfect. Have a fantastic weekend.